Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Welcome back to Fair Game. I'm still working on unscrewing the Snake's Revenge episode, so I figured I'd get this one done since it's a game I can complete relatively quickly, and is a little bit interesting. This is Impossible Mission 2. We're hitting the ground running in this episode, so nothing about the ins and outs of this game's development until the next episode, I'm afraid. You're a special agent infiltrating the invincible Doom Fortress of one Dr. Elvin Adam Bender. In this very first room, we get familiarized with a few of the different robots in the game. The first and most obvious is Pestbot, who are those little muncher-looking dudes on tank treads. They are not harmful. They just roam around and use the elevators. Quite the contrary, they can be very helpful sometimes. Other times they're just very annoying. The one at the bottom that looks like a claw arm on treads is Bashbot. Bashbot will approach and attempt to push the player. They can push the player into walls and crush them to death, into other enemies, which might also kill them, off of cliffs, or occasionally right back out of the room. And the little car-looking dude in the upper corner is Minebot. Minebot just rolls back and forth laying landmines. These mines, unlike the players, don't destroy the floor, and Minebot's harmless otherwise. You have unlimited lives in this game, but a time limit of 8 hours, and every time you die, you lose 5 minutes. This does a lot to light a fire under your ass because there's potentially 8 different towers for you to go through. Your 2 objectives in each tower are to find the codebreaker keys you need to get to the next one, and to find and break into the safe, which has a piece of recorded music. To get the codebreaker keys, as well as other useful items that you can use, you have to search the environment, and that means working your way around and checking everything you can find. Most of the items you can pick up you can use at terminals. These include platform resets, platform overrides, lighting overrides, landmines, time bombs, and deactivators. And yes, like you heard, this game was a big advocate of digitized speech. I'll tell you more about each power-up as we have to use them. In the next room, we run into what is arguably the most dangerous robot type, Sentrybot. Sentrybot will instantly kill you if it touches you, or if it shoots you with its eye lasers. It's worth noting that while most of the robots follow a very specific pattern, Bashbot and Sentrybot can be programmed a little bit differently. They may be programmed to charge the player, or simply hold their position. They may patrol a large area, or they may just keep one little area secure. We can't really do much in this room right now because we have to come in from the right entrance in order to actually be able to explore it proper. However, the next room we run into is a safe room, which means we have a safe that we need to break into. We did have to use a light override in order to access it, though. The light override, simply put, turns on all darkened rooms in the tower, if there is any. To access the safe, we have to use a time bomb, which will blow a hole in it and allow us to successfully extract the music. However, it is usually the most defended thing in a given tower. Sometimes it's just a challenge finding your way to get to the safe. In this particular case, we have to very carefully time it as we dart past things. We can't come at it from the right. Once we weave our way past the defenses, we're going to have to make our way to that terminal in the bottom corner. The gauntlet of getting to the safe in this case is one of the trickier ones, but once you actually get there, getting the music from this one is pretty easy. Once we get to the terminal, we'll use a deactivator to shut off all the robots for a couple of seconds, and then we'll grab a time bomb, and we'll use that to open the safe and get the music. It's worth noting, you have to get the music in each tower in order to be able to beat the game, because you can only access each tower once. Once you move on, there's no way to go back. The music sequence is used to access the 9th central tower. In order to properly access it, you have to splice together 6 different music sequences. In practice, this means all you have to do is keep an eye on your tape recorder and make sure you get each one. There are 2 duplicate sequences, however, as well, and you have to edit these out. That's if you get them at all. If you have no duplicates by the time you've completed your 6th tower, then you can absolutely just go right into the central core. The different items, including codebreaker keys, are randomized. So if you run into a particularly challenging room that you just can't seem to get the items in, back out. You might not need to even go there. To explain what the other items do while we're here, the platform reset resets all the platforms to their original locations in the room. It's one of the less useful power-ups, simply because it does that when you die anyway. Platform override will move the very large platforms left or right. You will often need to do this for accessing certain items or simply getting rid of certain enemies, since if the platform moves, they'll fall. The landmine is your main offensive option. It can destroy a robot outright, but it will also blow a hole in the floor. The time bomb is normally used for destroying safes, but in an emergency you can use it similar to the landmine with the difference of a time fuse as opposed to a proxy fuse. If you use it this way, it will blow a hole in the floor just like the landmine does. Impossible Mission 2 is one of the first NES games to use procedural generation. The number of rooms, their layouts, and locations are randomized. However, each tower is devoted to a different thing. Tower 5, which we're in right now, is devoted to consumer electronics. The other towers have everything from a motor pool for various vehicles, living quarters, food service, including automated kitchens, sports and exercise areas, warehousing, and office suites, just to name a few. If I remember correctly, the tower is located somewhere in Los Angeles on the grounds of the former Veterans Administration Hospital. At the top and bottom floor of every tower is a connecting bridge that connects to the next tower over. These bridges serve two purposes. The first one is that they allow you to go between the different towers. The second is that when you have a fully completed music sequence, you can also access the central tower from any of these bridges. Interestingly, you've actually seen almost every enemy the game has. There's only two that you haven't seen so far. The first one is Squatbot, which is a turtle-like robot that basically acts as a liftable platform. Much like Pestbot, he's mostly harmless, though it can kill you if it squashes you into a ceiling. The other robot doesn't appear in this game, or at least not in the NES version. It's Suicide Bot. Suicide Bot is very similar to Bashbot, except if it has the opportunity to zip off a cliff, it will do so, happily taking you with it. The enemy is fully programmed in the NES version, and it has sprites and data, but it's not encountered in the game at all. If I had to hazard a guess, it's because it's probably the most redundant enemy. Impossible Mission 2 is best known for its original release on Commodore 64, but it appeared on multiple other platforms at the time, including the Amiga and the PC, the latter version of which is actually available on Steam right now. In a stark contrast to pretty much all of the multi-platform releases of the time, Impossible Mission 2 is good on every platform it's on. It's really hard, and it's very finicky, but it's a goddamn good game experience. Epix absolutely had the golden touch when it came to video games back in this era. If you were a Commodore 64 owner, you knew these guys, and you watched their releases like a hawk. I know for Mercenary Cobra 1, one of his favorites was Jumpman. They were active well into the 90s with a lot of games you probably know. Games like Boulder Dash, Chips Challenge. Sadly, Epix's downfall came in the late 80s and early 90s. Arcade developer Data East, who is responsible for some of my favorite arcade games, wound up suing them in 1987, specifically over International Karate. Data East argued that the game was too much like their own game, Karate Champ. And while there are similarities, Karate Champ sucks, and International Karate is actually good. Either way, Epix was forced to recall it until they appealed and successfully got the verdict overturned. However, this did cause their fortunes to stall, and Epix was not able to migrate off-platform. See, Epix had become a specialist, focusing primarily on the Commodore, Atari ST, and Amiga computers. They tried to reach out and start publishing on consoles and other platforms as well, but it was too little and too late. By 1988, they were suffering, in no small part due to the Data East lawsuit. Epix's interactions with Nintendo are rather interesting and prophetic. We'll discuss it the next episode, though. With this, however, we've cleared all the rooms on the tower, and we can finally move on. We just have to head up to the gate and use the code breaker. Provided you got the digits when you were searching earlier, the code breaker will tell you when you have a matching digit. It's just a matter of figuring out which ones are the matching ones, and then plugging them all in. With the password 281, we have successfully opened the lock, and we can move on to the next tower. This next tower is devoted to food service, and we have a healthy 7 hours and 16 minutes left, so we're making pretty good time. Stay tuned for next episode, where I'll tell you about this game's development on NES.